Say that somebody was coming into our church and they're black.
I'm not a pastor, but I feel like that would be a preferable scenario.
Would they be eligible for membership in our church?
Please say yes.
Yes, of course they would. They'd be eligible for membership in our church.
Oh, thank God. I think the video's over now.
But would they be permitted to participate in, embody, and practice what I would call black culture generally in our church?
Oh, damn.
The answer is absolutely not.
I'm guessing you're going to elaborate.
Why? Because the characteristics that mark black culture as a generalization, in the same way Paul's talking about Cretans on Crete.
How long do you think he was waiting to call black people Cretans?
They are evil, murderous, violent, bestial people.
Bro, you have a dead rodent on your face.
They steal, they kill, they destroy. They are sinful to the core.
Are we listening to this?
They have besetting sins that are like fatherlessness, sexual immorality. They molest children at a high rate.
We're going to talk about black people molesting children at a high rate. You're a Christian pastor.
All of any criminal statistic that you could look at, almost pretty much without exception, they excel at them.
This video goes on for a while, but I'm going to stop there. I just need you to see what kind of things are coming up in this country. That guy that you just saw is this guy, Pastor Brian Sauve. He is the pastor of Refuge Church in Ogden, Utah. And he's a compatriot of this man, Doug Wilson, a pastor in Moscow, Idaho. I say pastor, but it's like a cult situation, you know? And you probably recognize Doug Wilson. You remember Doug Wilson, the pastor that Pete Hegseth platformed a few months ago, who was saying that women shouldn't be able to vote? This is what Christian nationalism is. This is what Christian nationalism wants. These are Christian nationalists. These guys are only going to get louder. They used to be relegated to like little corners of the internet, but they are now getting platformed by the Secretary of War. Like,
let's say that somebody was coming into our church and they're black, and would they be eligible for membership in our church? Yes, of course they would. They'd be eligible for membership in our church. But would they be permitted to participate in, embody, and practice what I would call black culture generally in our church? The answer is absolutely not. Why? Because the characteristics that mark black culture as a generalization, in the same way Paul's talking about Cretans on Crete, they are evil, murderous, violent, bestial people. They steal, they kill, they destroy, they are sin.
And I don't want to hear we took him out of context, because now your little mini Kirks are coming out of the woodwork. I don't want to hear we took him out of context, because he said what he said. Still killing what? So when someone says that they're black and Christian, because y'all don't like our culture, y'all don't like us as a people, but y'all claim to be Christian, because y'all are love to go pick on the homosexuals, go pick on everybody else who have abortions and all this type of stuff, but you won't deal with your inherent racism. Oh, we can fight every other sin. Well, let's not talk about the racism. Yeah, okay. These are y'all pastors. But racism is a social construct, and it's not real. Really? Okay.
Let's say that somebody was coming into our church and they're black, and would they be eligible for membership in our church? Yes, of course they would. They'd be eligible for membership in our church. But would they be permitted to participate in, embody, and practice what I would call black culture generally in our church? The answer is absolutely not. Why? Because the characteristics that mark black culture as a generalization, in the same way Paul's talking about Cretans on Crete, they are evil, murderous, violent, bestial people. They steal, they kill, they destroy, they are sinful to the core.
Okay, so apparently we're just saying the quiet part out loud now, huh? And there's really no defending it, and the little hope I have left for humanity wants to say nobody would even try. So let's talk about what culture is. Put simply, culture is a set of beliefs and patterns and symbols that basically sum up how a group of people views and interacts with the world. According to this guy, that includes violence and murder and acting like an animal. That's what bestial means. But of course, anybody who's ever interacted with black people or just has a number of working brain cells that's not in the single digits, you know that the majority of black people are just regular citizens. So even though this type of antisocial behavior is definitely a problem in Black communities, it's still something most Black people don't engage in. And if you're going to define a group of people by something that most of them don't do, that's not describing a culture, that's describing a stereotype. And it gets worse, and this is probably going to be long, just fair warning. Because what is a big part of Black culture is, in fact, Christianity. And even though, unfortunately, church attendance across the board,
Church, a place meant to represent love, unity, and equality before God. But in America, that same church has often reflected the opposite: segregation, exclusion, and deep-rooted racism. Today, we are uncovering the uncomfortable truth about racism in the American church. How Black believers have been mistreated, erased, and yet have continued to carry the faith with strength and dignity. Watch and pay attention, and I will share my thought later.
the most. I bring this up because this guy says that if someone wants to attend his church, then they wouldn't be able to practice Black culture, which he thinks is basically gang culture. But the largest group of churchgoers in the country are Black Protestants, meaning that these churches that they're going to, he thinks are just allowing criminality and murder and violence to run rampant through their churches, which is insane. And by insane, I mean super racist. Either that, or he thinks that the Black people attending these churches, which is a huge part of Black culture, are also renouncing Black culture because they're not violent, murderous criminals running around in churches, which is racist and stupid, which is two ways of saying the same thing. Because this is what I need the excuse makers to realize. When somebody says something like that, they're not talking about Ray Ray selling drugs on the corner. Ray Ray's not going to church. When somebody says stuff like that, he's talking about me. He's talking about my wife. He's talking about my parents who've been married for 35 years. He's talking about my pastor and the entire ministerial team that I serve with and do charity work with. He's talking about all the dudes I work with who just go to work, do their 9 to 5, and are just trying to make it through the day. And I can keep going and going until you realize that once there are so many exceptions to the rule, maybe it's just not a rule. But it's not that big a deal because I wouldn't want to go to that church anyway, because I have a feeling he's leading his congregation straight into the pit. By the way, I kind of feel like this is what people think Charlie Kirk sounded like. That's just an aside.
Evangelical Christianity has always been rooted in racism and always been rooted in white supremacy.
Somebody was coming into our church and they're Black, and would they be eligible for membership in our church? Yes, of course they would. They'd be eligible for membership in our church. But would they be permitted to participate in, embody, and practice what I would call Black culture generally in our church? The answer is absolutely not.
With all of the evangelicals using Charlie Kirk as a martyr,
call Charlie Kirk a modern American martyr for the faith.
is due to the white supremacist ideas that he upheld.
Why? Because the characteristics that mark Black culture as a generalization in evil, murderous, violent, bestial people. They steal, they kill, they destroy. They are sinful to the core. They have besetting sins that are like fatherlessness, sexual immorality. They molest children at a high rate. All of any criminal statistic that you could look at almost pretty much without exception.
When I think white culture, I think genocidal, colonial, racist. I think mass destruction of nations, culture, places, and things, theft of people's ideas, people's culture, people's things. I think the highest rates of child sexual assault are white men. Bestiality is white men. In family incest are white people. But the list can go on about how you're using statistics incorrectly and just lying and being very racist towards Black people while welcoming Black people into your white church for white people and want Black people to be white. It is insane to me that you can be and say you are a Christian and a man of God and be a pastor. You're a pastor and you're coming online and you're spewing hatred, racism, and just straight up fallacies about Black people, all while upholding mass shootings, violence, sexual assault, mass theft, destruction. The list goes on of what white culture has done to the world and what white people continuously do to the world. But you want to vilify Black people on your platform because you are reaching out to the sentiment of white racist people on the right in this country. Because, like I said, white evangelical Christianity is a form of religious extremism. And that's what's at the forefront and the top of this country. America is a religious extremist country in which white people get to be extremist. And it's just okay. You get to come on and espouse this hate, this hateful message. I want to drive home, guys. This is a pastor. This is a pastor. This is a pastor. So a pastor coming on and not being very Christ-like is not any form of Christianity that's real. These people are in a cult. This is a cult. This is a cult. This is why the Proud Boys, the KKK, all these people come out of this version of Christianity, because it's not Christianity.
Let's say that somebody was coming into our church and they're black.
No, because wait, can we talk about it? Because I came from a church where the pastor was actually my people and would do things that I would put along the lines of the things that he's saying. So we can't get mad at the foolishness that he's saying out of his mouth when we have things going on in our community like pastors that'll try to embarrass our youth in front of a whole church congregation. Don't try to lose me. So we look at videos like this and get outraged at a race of people, but then we overlook our pastor standing behind our back, making our kids stand up at the front of the church apologizing to a congregation for getting pregnant when they don't owe nobody an explanation but God. And so slightly, a lot of these parents allow that because we overlook the microaggression of that pastor trying to embarrass these children, all while judging them just like this man judging our whole race of people. And we take our kids back to that same church. But I'm going to go ahead and mind my business.
They are evil, murderous, violent, bestial people.
In this instance, I implore you to go back and watch that video. Since everybody loves context, go back and watch the video. I'm encouraging you to go back and watch that entire video and then come back. Don't worry, I'll wait. Oh, you're back. Hi. I'm going to say this one more time. Christianity is a Ponzi scheme. And one of the ways I know that that Ponzi scheme is the biggest Ponzi scheme in the history of time is this. Black Christians and white Christians worship two different Jesuses, or Jesus-I. They worship two different ones. And they have since the goddamn beginning. Since black folks was brought over here in boats, there have been two different Jesuses. The black Jesus is a man of peace. He's the loaves and fishes. He is the Beatitudes. He is the blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. He is the healing of the lepers. He is the sheltering those who are in need. He is the flipping over of the coin table in the temple. He is that Jesus. The other thing that Jesus is, docile. Not very confrontational. White Jesus, on the other hand, is this one. Warrior Jesus. Looks like Kenny Loggins on steroids. He's the pure alpha Ubermensch. That's their Jesus. Swinging a sword, killing his enemies. In the book of Revelations, this is the Jesus supposed to come back for the Jews. That ain't me saying anything wrong. That's in the book. That's in the book. This Jesus believes in supply side economics. Feed the poor, they better get up there and pull themselves up by their sandal straps. Heal the sick. I'm not healing you. That's a pre-existing condition. This Jesus is the one that screamed at Gorbachev to tear down that wall. This is the Jesus they think is coming back. This one. Which is completely opposite of the Jesus that black folks were taught and we were raised up with. Because that Jesus is docile. This Jesus is a warrior. He puts on the armor of Christ and all that warrior talk. This is the Jesus they were looking for. This one right here. The meek better bless themselves because we're taking them out. this Jesus would forgive the funny mustache man. Because, you know, in the last moments, he believed in warrior Jesus. This Jesus is about anger, vengeance, violence, and retribution, which is all a part of the Ponzi scheme that is religion. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people are going to say, well, what about Islam and Judaism, which are the other two branches of the Abrahamic religions? Same thing, fam. Same thing. Same thing. To some Muslims, Allah is a comfort. He is a guide. He speaks to them. He tells them the right way to do things. And in return, they give him submission to the will. To others, he is vengeance, violence, and retribution. The same guy, the Jews go through that same shit. Same shit. It's all a Ponzi scheme. Because if you can bisect your God, is he really a God or is he a figment of your fucking imagination? In order for me to truly get into the heart of religious people, I worship the Kryptonian god of the sun, Ra, R-A-O, Ra, right? And Ra sits in the sky. Every morning I can go out and see him. When it's cloudy, Ra is still there. When it's sunny and hot, Ra is there. Now, as a practicing Raoist, all I got to do is read the book of Ra and just live it. But you know what I try to do? I try to live more like the Christ that black folks have always worshiped. Even if I don't really believe in any of it, I still try to live my life by the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But this man literally sat here and told us all with his whole chest and whatever the fuck he has going on with his facial hair, that black folks cannot practice black culture because black culture is murderous, it's violent, it's this, it's that. You have got to be fucking kidding me. You cannot be serious. All you Warrior Jesus fans, the Triple K burns a cross to your God. The Triple K calls itself a Christian organization. Do you think they're talking about black Christians? No. When you cherry pick out of that goddamn book, you can make anything sound rational. This man literally said this shit in this country, in America. Black people can join his church, but they can't practice black culture. What the fuck is that? Black culture is murderous? Are you fucking for real right now? Violent? Are you fucking kidding me? So that was Warrior Jesus fans in January 6th, right? It was Warrior Jesus fans that burned down Rosewood. It was Warrior Jesus fans that burnt down Black Wall Street. It was Warrior Jesus people that put black folks in trees, hence the reason Billie Holiday's song Strange Fruit. That was Warrior Jesus. White Warrior Jesus, the one that looks like Kenny Loggins on HGH. That's your Jesus? But you want me to take your fucking religion seriously? No. And for all of you who are getting ready to distance yourself and say, that's not my Jesus, bring your ass back here. Don't move. Because had y'all been straight about this shit since day one, we wouldn't be having shit like this. I put the onus for the way Christians are viewed in America on Christians. Y'all think y'all are persecuted for your faith? No. We are you are not liked, not even persecuted. You are not liked because y'all cannot keep that shit to your life. You have to put it in everybody else's life. Hence the reason Warrior Jesus appeals to you. And for you to try to distance yourself from that shit, you know people like this. Have you called them out? Nope. I literally just got off of a fucking Zoom meeting with the head, heads of Ghost Law Productions Radio, one of which is a pastor. And I talked to her about this. Y'all think Charlie Kirk is sitting in the bosom of Warrior Jesus. That helps you ignore all the shit that he said. So mind you, he supposedly was a good Christian who thought black women had lower brain capacity and could not understand things like white women. That's some Warrior Jesus shit. But not my Christianity? Fuck you. It absolutely is. In for a penny, in for a goddamn pound. You want the docile, peaceful Jesus over here. So that Warrior Jesus can walk around saying all this bullshit and you can feel good because you can go, well, that's not my God. It's not my Jesus. Instead of looking that person in the face and say, what happened to the Prince of Peace? What happened to him? The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. What happened to the Prince of Peace? What happened? Oh, that's right. You wanted the Christianity that was practiced by the funny mustache man and his crew. And then you stand up in front of the church and call them blasphemers. Are you afraid to do that? This goes for any person who is really strong in their religious faith. If you are not calling out the bad characters within those faiths, don't talk to me about you being different. Because as an atheist, a person who sits on the outside of all of this, a Roweist, if you will, I don't see the goddamn difference. I don't. And it is not my job to find the differences between what faith you follow and what faith they follow. It's your job to call them out for not following the faith correctly.
Yeah, I've thought about this thing myself, and that's why I stopped even showing the video like a minute into what he was saying. Because I don't like having the message out there, you know? For these guys, there is literally no such thing as bad press. They thrive on bad press. It's the thing that they want more than anything in the world, because bad press means potentially curious bad actors, and then those potentially curious bad actors can click through and come see what they're about and join their cause and blah, blah. But here's the thing, if these guys were just like living in their mom's basements, and if they were just making their little podcasts and sending them to each other and like making their little books and just reading them, like if it was just a self-contained thing, I probably wouldn't be making this video. You know, like there are so many groups like that out there that I don't feel like need to be dignified with the light of day. But like those guys, the guys in that video are in the same network, they run in the same circles, they go to all the same conferences as the people that Pete Hegseth himself is like endorsing and platforming. So I don't know, man. I don't know what we're supposed to do. It's not worth it to debate with racists. You know, like, we're not engaging with their ideas because their ideas have no merit because they're based in bigotry, you know? So, like, but man, right now, I think people need to know what kind of a nightmare is coming, because it's not here yet. We have not seen the worst of it. It's gonna get a lot worse than it is. Most immediately, it will ramp up in November because Canon Press, Douglas Wilson's little publishing company, they do something called No Quarter November, which is where he just he takes the mask off and says whatever's on his mind. So I guess November will be the most immediate and most public test of how powerful these guys are feeling. So hopefully it's nothing. Hopefully it's not as bad as we're thinking, but I'm not hopeful.
So this is what happens when you feel like you are the mold and everything that you do is the standard and it's the best.
So can I say something about jazz? Yeah. There's some really great jazz music out there. Some really great, absolutely creative, musically brilliant jazz music. But there's also a thread in jazz music that is deconstructive and leftist to the core. Think of like atonal jazz music, where like they developed systems in certain wings of jazz music to intentionally, in the introduction of a song, make it impossible to identify a key. So the song isn't in any key. Most people would listen to it and it would just sound like noise. It would sound absolutely terrible, right? One of the reasons for that is that some wings of jazz music are just reflections of things you see in multiple disciplines of art, which is just Marxist, communist, deconstructing Western thought, deconstructing logic and order, deconstructing truth, goodness, and beauty. It's the same thing you see in modern art, where it's like, this is just, it's not anything. It's just splashes of color. It's supposed to unsettle you. So even jazz music some jazz music can be put forward as an example of an assault against order and the assertion of chaos, where good music is even good music that has dissonance in it, like good jazz can have dissonance in it, or different features that make it sound kind of interesting or introduce tension that is later resolved in a melody. These things can be complex statements about like a story where evil is introduced and it creates dissonance and it's resolved in victory. But some wings of jazz music are all dissonance. They're all chaos. That's actually a reflection, yet another reflection of the philosophical pushback against order in certain wings of this movement. They molest children at a high rate. All of any criminal statistic that you could look at, almost pretty much without exception, they excel at them. Black culture.
And it's even interesting. I mentioned it before, but like the black guy on TikTok, he was saying, he's like, y'all crazy. Like, you talking about this person like it's mental health. He said, that ain't no mental health. That's a demon.
When people think of church, they think of worship, love, and brotherhood. But let's be real. For centuries, many American churches have preached salvation on Sunday, while practicing segregation the rest of the week. From slavery to Jim Crow to modern times, racism has found a home in places that should have been sanctuaries. The same Bible that spoken of freedom was once used to justify oppression. Slaves, obey your masters. Verses like these were taken out of context and weaponized, not to teach faith, but to control and humanize. During slavery, white preachers often told enslaved Africans that obeying their masters was God's will. Black people were banned from worshiping freely or preaching in white churches. So black Christians built their own. The African Methodist Church, the Baptist conventions, and many more. These were not just churches. They were safe havens, places where black people could find dignity, education, leadership, and hope where society denied them everything else. Even after segregation legally ended, the church remained one of the most segregated spaces in America. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "It is appalling that the most segregated hour of Christian America is 11 o'clock on Sunday morning." Decades later, that quote is still true. Most white Christians worship in white churches. Most black Christians worship in black churches. Integration never truly came to the sanctuary. And when black believers try to join white congregations, they often face subtle racism, consenting look, exclusion from leadership roles, or being told to leave race at the door. Let's talk about today. It is 2025, but racism has not disappeared from the church. It has just become more polished. Examples. Black pastors are invited to speak during diversity months, but never hired full-time. White evangelical leaders stay silent about police brutality, but quick to condemn protests. Some churches preach colorblindness, pretending racism does not exist, instead of confronting it head-on. The truth is, many American churches are more loyal to politics than to Christ's message. They stand with nationalism, not justice. They defend system, not souls. Now imagine being a black Christian in that environment. You love God, you love your church, but you constantly feel unseen, unheard, and unwanted. It creates spiritual exhaustion, where faith feels like a fight instead of a refuge. And many young black Christians are walking away from churches that refuse to acknowledge their pain. But even in the face of centuries of exclusion, the black church has never died. It survived slavery, it survived Jim Crow, and it continues to thrive today as a voice for justice, culture, and community. From the hymn song in cotton fields, to the freedom songs of the civil rights movement, to today's gospel anthems, the black church has been the heartbeat of spiritual resistance. It reminds America that faith without justice is not faith at all. So what is the new way forward? It starts with truth, honest, and uncomfortable truth. White churches must confront their history, not hide it. They must share leadership, not just platform. They must stop preaching unity without addressing inequality. And for black Christians, our faith remains powerful. We are the descendant of believers who worshipped through chains, through fear, and through fire. We carry a legacy that cannot be erased. Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comment box below. Until next time, cheers and have a good one.